Okay.
And we are recording. We are live. Today is Tuesday, March something, March the 9th. Wow, this year's flying by already. What a wonderful year it's going to be. Welcome, everybody, to another fun episode of Photoshop Party. We're going to talk about one of the newer filters in Photoshop, which is the Neuro filter. And basically, you just have to play with it to realize what it does. And it is bizarre. So let's go ahead and share screen, Photoshop. And is there anybody that cannot see my screen?
Ah, I can
I
see
know. Scary, huh?
I shoot at things like that on the range.
it.
When you go out hunting, you shoot that too, right? Wild animals.
Mike's going to show us how to put a target on this, right? Put the bullseye on there.
I should, huh? But we're not going to do that today. We are going to do other stuff. So, before I get into Neuro filters, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a smart layer, smart object. Two ways to do it. One, right click or click on the little drop down, go down to convert to smart object on the right hand side, or you can go up to filter, convert for smart filters. Either one makes it a smart
I
object.
don't know if that can be a smart object.
Thank you, Mel. I wanted to, but I didn't.
And thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Ay, ay, ay. The reason I'm turning it into a smart object is so that it's non-destructible. I don't want to destruct such a pretty face. So, okay, here we go. We're going to go into filter down to Neuro filters, which is like the top filter up there. And it'll open up a filter on the right-hand side. And you'll see that it automatically creates a box around the face. It's doing the weird stuff where it automatically figures out facial recognition and all that good stuff. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on skin smoothing. I want to get younger. So I click on the slider right there and go into skin smoothing, and immediately it does a great job. And to preview changes, you click on the little box in the bottom left corner of the filter. And I don't know if you can see much of a difference, but it cleans up a whole lot right there and softens my skin. I can go to the smoothness slider, slide it to the right, and get even smoother skin, or get less by going to the left. And unlike the sliders in Camera Raw or some of the other filters where you double click on them to go to 0, these will not do that. So all you have to do is just click on the reset parameters and it goes back to beginning again. Okay, let's soften them up a little bit. There we go. And these are some of the filters that are automatically, well, they're the filters that Photoshop has been working with, so they're comfortable not calling them a beta filter. The other ones, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, are beta, so they're still in testing. You can do style transfers with this as well. Let me bring it back to full screen. JPEG artifact removal. I don't have any artifacts in there like dust and dust sensor stuff. It will do that automatically for you. Turn that off because I don't need it. Style transfer. If you want to do some bizarre things, you can. You can do Van Gogh styles. You can do all kinds of weird stuff with each image. And it doesn't have to be a person that you're doing image of. You can do a sunset and go in and make it a Van Gogh, or however you want to do it. Show less.
Question.
Answer.
When you were on skin smoothing and it selected your face, what if it hadn't selected your face, or you wanted to select your hands? Can you move that box around, or how does that work?
I don't think on skin smoothing, I don't think you can, but it will smooth your hands out a little bit, I believe. I don't see any area where you can select just the hands.
Okay.
Well, let's try this. Cancel that. And we'll do a lasso around the hands. Go to narrow filter. And it selects the face still.
Okay.
That's worth a try.
I imagine you could put it on a different layer, the part you want, and just do it on that layer.
You try that. Yeah. I don't know though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see anything for any automatic selection turn off. So
What if you have more than one person in an image?
we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Well, now that you brought it up, fine.
Jump ahead.
Jump ahead. I have 3 people here. I click
Yay.
on filter, neuro filters. And you see it does a box around each person. The one that's blue is the one that's selected.
Ah, okay.
So, okay, instead of picking on them, I'll keep picking on me. But that answers your question.
Yeah.
So if you want to run on each of the people, so do you have to run it on 3 different layers and run it each time, select each person, and then make it 3 different layers and say left, middle, and right person?
I think
Do
you
that?
can do each person separately inside of this. Like, okay, let's do this guy for fun. Zoom in. And to zoom while you're in neural filters, you can hold the option or the command. Option or alt key will go backwards. Command or control will bring you forward. So let's do skin smoothing to make him younger a little bit. And that was super quick, but you can see it took out a lot of wrinkles really fast. And hopefully you can see the difference on the screen. Let's go ahead and smooth them out a little bit more. And while we're here, let's go down to the beta filters, and we'll go to Smart Portrait, turn it on. And some of the cool things they have here, I'm not going to show the happiness, surprise, and anger on this one. I'll show it later. But facial age. Facial age is really cool. I'm going to slide it to the right. And you can see in the upper right-hand corner, this little circle is spinning saying, okay, I'm working on it. And it does take a little while sometimes.
Oh, you're taking off a lot of years.
Or
I'm gonna-
acting years.
I'm going to be adding years to him. So I smoothed them out, but then the facial added more softness to him again. And then down at the bottom says experimental, retain unique details. So I'm going to click that off. And that made him a whole lot older.
Oh, wow.
And you can adjust how much of the details you keep in there. So if I go back to my original skin smoothing, turn that off. And then we'll go back to beta and the facial age. Let's add a couple more years. And retain, take off. And it's spinning, 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 spinning. What happens is this goes up to the cloud and then comes back down. It's how they're doing it. But you can see it makes a big difference. One of the things it does do on the edges, like on his left, our right ear, it kind of tweaked it a little bit. Turn that off. You can see it made a little bit of a difference.
Well, it added an earring.
It added an earring, yeah, and stretched out his ear. So,
Oh my goodness.
let's go the opposite direction on facial age. Whole lot younger. He needs some teeth though. So let's go ahead and give him happiness.
Oh my goodness.
See if it gives him some teeth. See what happens. Come on. Come on. You can do this.
Oh wow.
Okay. Let's go to this nice young lady here.
Oh, that's great.
Click on her. I'm going to make her just a little bit younger. So let's go to facial age, drag her back a little bit. Shush. That was my phone going off. Okay, so a little bit younger there. And I want to have her look to her right. So I'll slide the gaze to the left, which would be her right. And take a second.
Yeah.
A little bit more. Okay, so that's after, that's before. It didn't change. Oh, it changed her eyes. Head direction is what I wanted to change. So let's change her head direction.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, but it did some weird stuff around her neck.
It will do that. There's a lot of things when you change head direction, you'll notice that you'll have to do some cleanup, but it does some pretty cool stuff. And let's go with Cowboy Bob over here. We'll drag him so he's front and center. And we're going to change his head direction to the left.
His left?
His left, our right. So I slid it to the right. And it's spinning, thinking, what do I do? How do I do this? I think it has to turn the hat too, so it's got to figure that out.
He'll turn part of the hat and leave the rest behind.
Yeah, so you're going to have to do some tweaking on this when you play with it.
That's what you're behind. We got to be able to expand those boxes out.
I wish we could, but it just picks up the facial direction there, so.
That's amazing.
So that's before and after. Photoshop did all that without my help.
I love it.
And then you can go into liquefy and do some other work on it as well. So that's what the multiple people. So we did multiple people there. So we'll close them out. Command W, don't save. Ooh, God. Let's do Mona. So I photographed her a couple years ago.
Now that answers everything.
And we'll go ahead and go into Neuro filters just for fun. And why not do skin smoothing? Let's just click on the skin smoothing without adding a blur or smoothness. So you got before, after, it smoothed it a little bit. Let's go ahead and bump it to the right a whole bunch more. and a little bit of blur to soften her skin. Doesn't look like a whole lot, but it does quite a bit. Style transfer, I don't want to do anything to that, so I'm not going to do style transfer. But down at the bottom, you can preserve color, focus subject, blur background, brightness. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. Just get in there and play with it. Turn that off.
But does it save it to a new layer when you?
Output to new layer.
Okay.
In fact, I forgot to make her a smart filter, but I'll output her to a new layer so you can see what happens. And let's go to smart portrait. Hair thickness, yeah, she could use a little bit more hair. Back out just a little bit. You can see it spinning up at the upper right. So what it does, it takes this image, shoots it to the cloud, does its AI stuff on their artificial intelligence, and shoots it back down to me. So it does take a little bit of time to do stuff. So she's got a little bit more hair. Head direction, let's go ahead and make her so she's looking more straight towards us. So I'll turn her head to her left, our right. And of course, we need to fix the eyes, so the gaze has to go to our left, her right. Let's go a little bit more. Why not? And if you want to change the light direction on there, you can change the light direction. So I'm going to slide it to the left, see what it does. And it's spinning. And if I slide it to the right, you can see it makes everything backwards on there. So let's go ahead and keep it to the left where she belongs. Almost gave us some Rembrandt lighting there. Facial age. Do you want to make her older or younger?
Oh, make her smile.
I'll do that in a second.
Make her
A little bit younger. Okay, here we go. Go to the left. Went minus 27 just for fun. And happiness. Slide it over about 26.
Now make her 80 years old.
And you know what? Let's get rid of happiness. Let's make her angry.
You know,
Very-
somebody artist is rolling over in his grave right now.
Ooh.
Ooh. Those
And who-
pursed lips.
And who's the artist that did this?
We
Test
don't want to
question.
say because we all know.
Do we?
Da Vinci.
Leonardo. Okay, we'll make her a little bit older.
Now the question is, how many people have seen it in person?
I wish I had.
I know.
Yeah,
In a crowded room. Lots of people looking.
It's
Smelly
so
crowded room. At
tiny.
least when I was there, it was very smelly.
It was so tiny.
Yeah, it's only about like 11 by 17 is all it is.
I know. And you go into this room where you got these massive paintings and you got this little painting on the wall.
You expect this to be a huge painting for all the history that it has.
Right?
It shows size doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
So
We're
there
talking
you can-
photographs, right?
Exactly, yes.
And lenses.
So you Okay, just a reminder, we are being recorded. Okay, let's go from anger. Turn her anger off and make her surprised.
Could she be surprised and angry at the same time?
I don't know. That's not really surprised.
Not very surprised.
Well, that's because she's old. Let's undo her age. There we go. Yeah, she's not looking very surprised, is she?
She's not very emotional.
Oh, and you've been hanging around that many years.
Just think how long she's been watching People. Nothing will surprise you after
Nothing
that.
will surprise you anymore. That's good.
Well, especially if she, never mind.
Nothing to see. Move along.
Yes, sir. Thank you for reminding me. So you can play with this and just get stinking crazy and have a good time. There's one called Makeup Transfer. I think you have to have 2 images, one with makeup, one without, to do that. And I don't have that available right now.
Now, are these all the beta ones, or are these these are the final ones?
Okay, you can see that I'm in the beta ones right now.
Okay, those are all beta. Okay.
Right. If you look, there's a chemical beaker.
Yep.
Okay, those are the beta filters.
Okay.
These are the regular filters that they have going already.
So these are probably going to get better as time goes on.
They're going to get better as time goes on. And then also you can see that there's 5 that have beta written next to them. And then down below, you have noise reduction, face cleanup, photo to sketch, sketch to portrait, pencil artist, artwork, and face to caricature. Those are not in play yet at all. So let's say photo to sketch, you click on it and you click here and say, I'm interested.
Okay, so they're coming.
And then say, why do you want it?
Right.
So go in there and click on all these so we can get them all in there. Because I think caricature should be fun to play with. These are the filters we have applied so far. So we're going to save it to a new layer, click OK. And that's all of it it's saved. So you have that to that. Mona Lisa to today's Mona Lisa. Kind of bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Let me be a devil's advocate here.
Go for it.
I understand the implication of this can do for family portraits and tweaking that family portrait if somebody's not happy. So how do you feel this is going to affect image competition and photographers relying on this to fix things that they can't take care of, and how the judges are going to respond? So how do you feel about it?
I don't know, Mr. Judge, how are you going to respond?
I'm listening to you guys.
There are going to be people that use this for image competition, just like they're using sky replacement. Everybody's dropping in skies into everything now, and you see the same sky over and over and over in print comp. You know they've used the same sky. Go on Zillow. Look at the housing on Zillow. A lot of them have skies dropped in. It's the same sky over and over and over. So.
Well, and more to your question, Dennis, I mean, I think people are using other things already now. This is just another option for them to where maybe they aren't spending money on a outside program and Photoshop's trying to keep it all to them. So I think people are always going to use something. It's just what tool best suits them for whatever their workflow is. And I think from a judging standpoint, I mean, you've got to judge it based on, is it realistic or is it overdone? And I think, a lot of judging has already done that, where they've marked people down if they've just, over plasticked, their work and everything. So I don't think it's going to change the way judging is currently being done right now, because I think they're already taking things like that into play.
You think it's going to make photographers lazy because now they don't have to do things. Just like you're in a park, you don't have to pick up that piece of paper. You'd rather just Photoshop out later. You think it's going to make photographers lazy, and then they're relying on these skills and like the AI, the sharpening, and all these things that's coming out. So what's happening to the creative artist? Is this part of the creativity, or is this part of what's happening in the photography world?
I think it's what's happening in the world. I mean, if we weren't buying the programs and using the programs, they wouldn't be making them.
You've also got, like, California has straight out of camera as a entry in their print competition, image competition.
ASP's got a raw category. So, there are some that do have a straight out of camera.
And when you're competing against Richard Sturdivant, Sandra Pierce, Ella Carlson, I can't think of the other guy's name.
And Shirk.
Ben Shirk, thank you. You're in two different categories when you're competing in the portrait category with them, because they are going to do what they do. If you took their raw image straight out of camera, it'd be an interesting competition. One more time with the filter, you can see she's got some issues with acne on her face. Sweet, sweet girl. So let's go to NeuroFilters. And the very first one is skin smoothing. And just clicking on that without making any other adjustments, you can see it's done a whole lot to her face. If we hit the smoothness slider, slide it to the right, it doesn't do a whole lot. Let's take it all the way to the left. It lessens some of the work that it's done already, and then blur to the right.
Not really seeing a lot of change there. Yeah, a little bit. Okay.
Yes, it's not.
It's subtle.
It's subtle. There are, I saved it to a new layer. So I would have to go in and do some slight retouching compared to heavy retouching. So that saves me a little bit of work there. For seniors, especially the girls, this is a time saver for the photographer. So it works really well. I like it. It's kind of fun. And again, let's flatten the image. Command E to flatten. Go to Filter, NeuroFilter. I'm going to run it one more time just for fun. Skin smoothing, turn it on. And so it did just a little bit more, but to me, the skin's going a little bit too soft to where you're starting to lose the detail in the skin, the pores, and the detail. You just got to be careful of that if you use it over and over and over. Do Command, add a full new layer, do NeuroFilter one more time. And you can see you're losing all the detail in her skin there. So you just got to be careful how you use it. But it's a tool. You play with it, you enjoy it, and have a good time. And just go crazy with it. Don't be afraid of it.
It occurs to me, this argument about the better tools and judging and what have you has been going on since the beginning of photography.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's the old debate of whether better pots and pans necessarily make a better cook. And I think we all agree that that's not the case. And it's the end result and how creatively you use the tools that really counts. So this is just one more tool in the toolbox, it seems to me. That
the problem is when it gets overused and somebody turns out a remarkable photograph, the judges will say, well, that was done in such and such, when in fact you actually caught it in camera and did minor retouching on it. And so it hurts the good photographers as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it narrows the gap, to be sure. But
oh yeah.
In competition, is there not a way to challenge that? If somebody says this is great, but it was all done in Photoshop, is there a way for the maker to say this was, or even when it's entered, this was done by hand, not with using, all these
No.
all these funky
No.
features?
No.
Unfortunately not.
As
That
a
is-
judge, we have to judge what's before us in the category, and if it's in portrait or illustrative or whatever, we have to judge what's in front of us. If there's a question on the technique, we can have them flagged and have them checked out later. Because like Michael talked about all the different skies and things, and I own a lot of these programs because I wanted to see what's in them, and just so I can identify. And when I'm judging, I identify with some of these skies and drop-ins, and yet they're entering them without the new Creative Open, where you have to put a thumbnail was not your image. So I've challenged some images or had them flagged because of that, because they are entering them in a category that they're saying I've shot all these features and they haven't. So yeah, it's a challenge, but we have to, and what we do is I never address when I'm challenging. I never say, oh, it's Painter or this program or this, that. I'll just have to say it's the technique you use, and that's the way it should be, because as a juror, I have no idea if they use Painter or Photoshop to paint or another program. So it's a technique or whatever it is. So you have to be careful when you're addressing a technique on an image.
I had an image that I shot at the San Diego Balboa Park where a witch had a big giant balloon bubble, and inside the bubble was a building, and they said this was over photoshopped. Problem is I shot it on a Hasselblad on film. So it comes back when you get that one image that you just get lucky, and they say, well, too bad, so sad.
Well, I've had people judge my images before Photoshop when Photoshop was new. I would be at a home show with some of my photos displayed, and there are multiple puppies all looking perfect. And people walk by and go, oh yeah, that's Photoshopped. It's like, no, it isn't. I photographed that with my camera. There was no Photoshop, and people just don't believe you. They're like, no, you can't do that without Photoshop. And that's why I wondered, is there a way to challenge that when you enter something that you use your own skill to do as opposed to a computer program?
There is a way, Laura. It's you can't do that without Photoshop.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's fine for me to say to a person, but as an entrant in the
I go.
You just got to bite the bullet and accept the judge's comments. Unfortunately,
Michael, your observation about skies, I often think about. I've been photographing skies for years, just for the sake of dropping them in.
Me too.
I'll never use a built-in sky that comes with a program for dropping it in. Luminar comes with a whole bunch of them. Photoshop comes with a whole bunch of them. I consider that part of my skills of taking a zillion pictures of skies so I could match the lighting to the scene and what have you. That's where the skills are getting lost, is when I see an image where the scene is lit from the left and you got a sky that is lit from the right, and it's just simply is dropped in from the program. Hopefully judges pick up things like that, though.
They do.
Where lighting is crazy, or a standard built-in texture has been used, that type of thing, where you've seen it over and over again.
Well, my wife thinks I'm crazy because I do go out at sunset and shoot skies, or like today, we got big, giant, fluffy clouds up here. I run out and start shooting them. I want those available for me.
Yeah, we do too. They're beautiful right now.
My wife laughs when we're at the park and I'm taking pictures of the clouds, and everybody else in the park is looking up in the sky to figure out what the hell I'm doing.
Well, it's not only that, it's all the little things. Like I was in Italy teaching a workshop, and I was photographing this wall and all these beautiful textures. If you've been to Italy, and this little man was following me for a couple of minutes, and he finally walked up to me and tapped me on the shoulder. It's just a wall,
Oh, it's not just a wall.
He just didn't. He'd seen it every day of his life. He just didn't understand. I'm going like, man, this is going to be great.
Yeah, when we had PPA at New Orleans,
Mm.
a group of us went to the cemeteries and we're photographing the cemeteries, the headstones, the textures on the walls. It's just when you go, hey, this texture worked perfect for this shot or this one, and you just go out and shoot it. Or in a hotel last weekend, I'm photographing the wallpaper because it's got all this cool texture.
Well, here's the thing with all these like things Michael's been showing us today, and all these new drop-ins. Like Hutch was talking about, all these filters, lid. We may not use them today, or we acquire new skills, we acquire new techniques, we acquire new programs with different parameters. We're able to use these things, so we're just keep adding things to our library and our skill set. And I just did something I did like 10 years ago, and I just said, I'm going to reprocess this. And I'm going like, wow, but 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have done it because I had different skill sets.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Photoshop's improved so much, or Camera Raw's improved so much that it helps bring out some of the details in it.
No way. Well, and now that, Michael, along the same thing with all these things on, and everybody that does landscapes, or that your eye improves and you start seeing things differently. I mean, I bet you every one of us have went back through old files, especially the last year, and went back through old files and go, why didn't I work on this? Why didn't I do that? And because you start seeing things differently.
Yeah, definitely. You mature as a photographer.
Well, and certain things hit you differently each day. I mean, just the impact. You may have no impact today, but a month from now, you look back and go, wow. So, I think that, that has a little something to do with it as well.
Well, that's a 2 and 3 and 4 Bud rule. The Budweiser rule.
Good to know, Dennis. Good to know.
Just saying.
Leo's got a product. I'll let Leo, you want to talk about it?
I'm actually unmuted here now. I'm proud of myself. I haven't got my camera to work. If you wish, I would never try to commandeer your meeting to promote my products, but on Facebook for my company, idahoairships.com, I was on pre-release team for Photoshop for years, beta testing, and actually moderated Adobe's Photoshop and Premiere Pro forums for several years. I did put together kind of an in-depth look at some of the current artificial intelligence-based operations for sky replacement, vice performing one with classical techniques called channel operations. And if I don't have a way, okay, there you go. There's a link. That is my Facebook page. So I'm not really jonesing for plays or anything like that. I'm not compensated for this, but I think that fellow professionals might feel very good that competent Photoshop practitioners can far surpass the products available in even Photoshop's artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's just a matter of knowing your tools and which tools to use, and playing around. I mean, Dennis held a workshop in Yosemite a couple years ago for us. We're standing right next to each other, not shooting the same pictures. I mean, you compare the back of our cameras at the same time and go, are we even in the same place? Standing right next to each other. So learning the tools, you got your own style of doing Photoshop, you got your own style of photography. Take advantage of yourself and just enjoy it. And I put your link up there for you. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Any other comments while we're going? Okay, then I'm going to hit the stop record button real quick.